Good morning, viewer. Welcome to our Fossil TV. Here is the breaking news. US moves aircraft carrier strike group near Korea after North's missile launches, South Korea says. A US Navy aircraft carrier strike group is moving into waters of the Korean Peninsula as tensions flare after a spate of North Korean missile launches over the past 2 weeks, South Korean security officials said. South Korea's National Security Council held an emergency meeting on Thursday after North Korea launched 2 more short-range ballistic missiles, the 6th such launch in 12 days, the country's presidential office said in a statement. The NSC warned that North Korea's provocation will face a stronger response, as demonstrated by the redeployment of the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan and its strike group into the SC, also known as the Sea of Japan, following Pyongyang's launch on Tuesday of an intermediate-range ballistic missile that flew over Japan. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff also said on Wednesday that the US carrier strike groups would be redeployed to the waterway in what it characterized as a very unusual move meant to demonstrate the resolute will of SK-US alliance to respond decisively to any provocation or threat from North Korea. Asked about the South Korean statement on the Reagan's movement, a US 7th Fleet spokesperson told the reporter the Ronald Reagan carrier strike group is currently operating in the Sea of Japan. The Navy said it does not comment on future operation. The South Korean statement on the US Navy strike group's movement drew a harsh response from Pyongyang. The DPRK is watching the US posing a serious threat to the stability of the situation on the Korean Peninsula and in its by redeploying the carrier task force in the waters of the Korean Peninsula. Read a statement from the North Korean Foreign Ministry posted on the state-run Korean Central News Agency. Pyongyang's missile launches Thursday are the 24th such test this year, including both ballistic and cruise missiles, the highest annual tally since Kim Jong-un took power in 2012. It closely followed the highly provocative launch by the isolated country on Tuesday, when North Korea fired a ballistic missile without warning over Japan, the first in 5 years, prompting Tokyo to urge residents in the north to take shelter. The United States and the South Korea responded with missile launches and exercises around the Korean Peninsula on Tuesday and Wednesday. Speaking Wednesday during a trip to South America, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned that if North Korea continues down this road of provocation, it will only increase the condemnation, increase the isolation, and increase the steps that are taken in response to their actions. Last month, the US, Japanese, and South Korean navies conducted joint anti-submarine exercise in international waters of the east coast of the Korean Peninsula to improve response capability against North Korea submarine threats. The Reagan carrier strike group and destroyers from South Korea and Japan were involved in that joint exercise, according to the South Korean Navy. The latest North Korea launch came hours after a Security Council briefing at the United Nations headquarters in New York about Pyongyang's weapons program. Speaking at the Council, US Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield accused Russia and China, without naming them, of enabling North Korea. North Korea has enjoyed blanket protection from 2 members of this council. These 2 members have gone out of their way to justify the DPRK's repeated provocations and block every attempt to update the sanctions regime, said. Referring to Russia and China, Thomas Greenfield said 2 permanent members of the Security Council have enabled North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to continue this provocation. But China countered that it was Washington ratcheting up tensions. The US has recently been bolstering its military alliance in the Asia-Pacific region and intensifying the risks of military confrontation on the nuclear issue. Chinese Deputy Ambassador to the UN Geng Shuang said during the Security Council meeting, the US is positioning the regional security environment, he added. Russia too blamed Washington. It is obvious that missile launches by Pyongyang were a response to the short-sighted confrontational military activities of the US, said Anna Evsteva, Russia's deputy permanent representative to the UN. Andriy Lankov, professor of Kookmin University in Seoul said military displays from the US and its allies have no effect on the North Korean weapons program. Yes, American strategic assets are deployed, but does it make any difference? Lankov asked. It does not make any difference where an American aircraft carrier is. They are just testing their missiles, he said, of the North Korea. Experts have been warned that North Korea's recent test suggests an ever greater escalation in weapons testing could be on the horizon. North Korea is going to keep conducting missiles tests until the current round of modernization is done. Jeffrey Lewis, director of the East Asia Non-Proliferation Program at the Center of Non-Proliferation Studies, told to the reporter earlier this week. Carl Schuster, a former director of operations at the US Pacific Command's Joint Intelligence Center in Hawaii, said North Korean leader Kim has both domestic and regional audiences in mind with the testing. Kim is telling his own people we can deal with whatever the threat the US and South Korea can come up with, Schuster said. He is also telling the South Koreans that if they go too far, he can rain destruction on them. He is also signaling to Japan, I can reach you and I am not afraid to do so. Schuster also said that Kim can be expected to up the ante soon by testing a nuclear weapon. Lewis agreed, saying a nuclear test could come anytime. South Korean and US officials have been warning since May that North Korea may be preparing for a nuclear test, with satellite imagery showing activity and at its underground nuclear test site. If North Korea conducts a test, it could be the country's 7th underground nuclear test and the first in nearly 5 years. Reporting contributed all the journalists. Behind the report for Shakti.